My name is Sarah Mitchell, and for most of my adult life, I thought I had everything figured out. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, married my high school sweetheart, and built a life that from the outside looked picture perfect. I had a husband, a beautiful home, two children, and the kind of marriage that people often admired. But the truth about marriage is that nobody really knows what goes on behind closed doors. And sometimes, the hardest things to accept are the truths you stumble upon accidentally. This story isn't easy for me to tell, but I believe it matters because it taught me more about love, forgiveness, and human weakness than anything else ever could. It all began on a summer evening that seemed ordinary until one moment changed the way I looked at my husband forever. I had come home early from work that day. I worked part-time at a local accounting office, and my boss had let me go a few hours ahead of schedule. My plan was simple: surprise my husband, David, with dinner, maybe watch a movie, and enjoy the kind of quiet evening we hadn't had in a while. We'd both been busy, him with his construction business, me juggling work and the kids, and I thought it was time we reconnected. But when I opened the front door, I knew something wasn't right. The house was too quiet, except for a faint sound coming from our living room. I walked carefully, almost like I didn't want to disturb whatever I was about to find. And then I saw him. David was sitting on the couch, his phone in his hand, his face pale, his expression filled with guilt. He didn't hear me at first, and that gave me a moment to see what he was doing. He wasn't texting a friend or checking emails. He was looking at messages, long, personal, emotional messages with another woman. My heart sank. It felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. My first reaction was anger, but then came confusion, sadness, and disbelief all at once. I wasn't prepared for that moment. I didn't expect to catch him like that, so vulnerable, so exposed, and so clearly involved in something I never imagined he would do. When he finally noticed me standing there, his face turned white. He tried to hide the phone, but it was too late. I had seen enough. "David," I said, my voice trembling. "What is this?" For a long moment, he couldn't answer. His lips moved, but no words came out. His silence told me everything. Tears filled my eyes, but I forced myself not to break down completely. I needed answers. Eventually, he whispered, "I didn't mean for you to find out this way." That sentence felt like a knife. It meant what I feared. It was real. He was involved with someone else, at least emotionally. But here's where things took a turn I didn't expect. Instead of screaming, instead of packing my bags or throwing him out, I sat down across from him. My whole body was shaking, but something inside me told me that this moment wasn't just about betrayal, it was about truth. And sometimes, the truth hurts before it heals. "Tell me everything," I said quietly. And he did. For the first time in months, maybe even years, David opened up. He told me about the loneliness he had been feeling, about how he thought I was too busy for him, about how he had turned to someone else for validation and comfort. He admitted it started small, just conversations, then turned into something he didn't know how to stop. He swore it had never been physical, but emotionally, he knew he had crossed a line. As I listened, my anger shifted into something else. Don't get me wrong, I was still devastated. But what I saw in his eyes wasn't arrogance or pride. It was shame. He wasn't proud of what he had done. He wasn't trying to justify it. He was broken, and in that moment, I realized something unexpected. He needed my help. That was the hardest part for me to accept. Helping him felt impossible at first. Why should I comfort the man who had hurt me? Why should I pick up the pieces of a mistake he chose to make? But then I thought about the years we had shared, the family we had built, and the fact that no marriage is immune to cracks. I didn't excuse his actions, but I understood that if I wanted to save what we had, I couldn't just walk away without trying. So, I made a decision that night. I told him, "If you want to fix this, if you really want to make this right, then we'll do it together. But if you're not ready to let go of her, then this ends now." His eyes filled with tears. He dropped his phone on the couch, reached for my hand, and whispered, "I want you. Only you." That was the moment I helped him. Not by forgiving him instantly, not by pretending everything was fine, but by giving him the chance to fight for us. The weeks that followed weren't easy. We had long, painful conversations. There were nights when I cried myself to sleep, mornings when I doubted whether I had made the right choice, and days when I questioned everything about my marriage. But slowly, step by step, we started to heal. We went to counseling. We rebuilt trust by being brutally honest with each other. I learned to speak up about my own needs instead of bottling them up, and he learned that love isn't just about grand gestures. It's about consistency, loyalty, and presence. Looking back now, I realize that catching him in that moment was both the worst and best thing that ever happened to us. It forced us to confront what was broken instead of ignoring it. It showed me that marriage isn't about perfection, it's about perseverance. And it taught me that forgiveness doesn't mean weakness. Forgiveness is strength, because it takes courage to rebuild when it would be easier to walk away. I don't tell this story to justify what David did. Betrayal is painful, and it leaves scars. But I tell it because sometimes the moments we least expect, the ones that shatter us, can also be the moments that open the door to healing. Today, years later, our marriage isn't flawless, but it's stronger. We know each other better, we love each other deeper, and we've built a relationship where honesty matters more than pride. So when I think about that night, the night I caught him in a moment I never expected, I don't just remember the pain. I remember the choice I made to help, to stay, and to fight for what mattered most. And that choice changed everything.